You are more than your body, and you are deserving of love, irregardless if you are a 34F, 34A, 30 double A, it doesn't matter. When you love yourself unconditionally, that will show up in the person who's meant to be with you, a guy, your friend. They will love you for who you are and not for how your body looks. If this is the first time that you're coming across one of my videos, be sure to check out part 1 and part 2. Part 1 pretty much covers why I decided to get a breast reduction, and part 2 talks more about what I did to prepare for actual surgery. It is May 7th. It is the actual day for surgery. So I am getting everything all together. It doesn't even really feel real yet. I am still just trying to wrap my mind around what is about to happen. I want to make sure that we're there on time and that everything is situated and taken care of, but I will try my best to vlog, so let's go. I have been so excited leading up to the actual day of surgery, but when it was the actual day of surgery, y'all, I was so nervous. It is recommended that you arrive to your surgeon's office at least 2 hours before your scheduled appointment, and to have someone who can stay with you throughout the entire procedure. So my mom came along with me, y'all. So I was supposed to be there by 11 o'clock. I literally pulled up at 10:59 and I was running in. So I intended to vlog this whole surgery, but in the moment, on top of all the nerves, it was like, girl, just get in there. So once you get to your actual office, you want to make sure that you have your ID and your insurance card for check-in. It's a pretty straightforward process. You're going to run through a lot of paperwork. The paperwork is just, standard information. Once I was checked in and I made payment, I pretty much waited until they called me to the back. Once I was in the back, they asked me to take a pregnancy test just to make sure that I was good. They took my weight, checked my vitals, and then had me undressed completely. So you'll get a surgical gown, you'll get the surgical cap, you'll get some compression socks and some regular socks. They will also give you some pillows and blankets just to make sure that you're warm and comfortable. Once you're dressed for surgery, a nurse will come in and get you hooked up to IV. And then the doctor who is going to give you your anesthesia, he'll come in just to explain to you what it is, what to expect, how it will make you feel, and then what to expect after surgery. And then finally, the surgeon will come in and do his markup for surgery. So they rolled me on to the back. The next thing I knew, I was waking up and there was a nurse who was basically saying, like, hey, how you doing? My name is Cassandra. I'm gonna help you get ready to go home. It pretty much felt like, you had a good nap and you're slowly waking up. But as soon as I got home, I did start to feel really, really nauseous. My appointment was at 12:40 p.m. By the time I got home, it was like 3:30, almost 4. So at this point, I had not eaten for so long. I was like, okay, give me something to eat and I'm gonna go to sleep. So my mom helped me upstairs, helped me get into the bed that I had already prepared. And then she made me some soup and I was knocked out. For me, if I had to explain what the pain felt like, if you are someone who works out and you lift weight, pretty much the pain to me felt like fatigue muscle. So it wasn't like someone was stabbing me. It wasn't like ongoing like sharpness or pressure or anything. It literally just felt like I had been lifting weights the day before and now my muscles are really, really sore. And the main areas that I felt this soreness was under the arms, right here in this area, and under the boob. I really did not feel much pain, just that soreness. And I only would feel the soreness if I were getting in and out of bed. So within the first 24 hours, it wasn't that I was in a lot of pain. It was probably because I had a lot of medication. I was getting snacks on my own. I was filling up my water. Like, y'all, I really did not feel much pain, just that soreness. And so I felt like Superwoman. I was walking around the house like I didn't just have surgery. By day 2, it was probably because I had so much medication in my system. It wasn't really a good day for me. I started to feel pressure like in the boob area. So in addition to the soreness, that muscle fatigue feeling, it started to feel like pressure, like someone was like really pulling my boob from the inside. So I was just really out of it. So pretty much what I did, I just stayed in bed. I started to watch some Netflix and I was in and out of sleep pretty much all day. So by day 3, I was like, I'm only going to take the medicine if I start to feel pain. So I had a follow-up appointment with my doctor on day 3, where we pretty much just caught up on what I've been doing, like running through my schedule for the medication, just making sure that, it's working. My doctor was very short and to the point, and just, reminded me of a few things that we talked about when it came to resting and not doing too much as far as lifting over your head. He pretty much was asking, like, how was the bra working for me? How was the medication working for me? And if I had any questions or any main concerns. So I say all that to say, after day 3, I really haven't been taking any pain medicine. Even up to this point, I will only take it if I feel any discomfort. So my first post-op appointment in person was about 9 days after surgery. I did go into the doctor's office just for that official in-person check-in. So essentially what took place at this appointment is, once I was all checked in, the nurse took my vitals per usual, checked my weight, and just was asking questions about how the medications have been working for me, if I've noticed any changes that need to be addressed, and if I have any concerns. And then the doctor came in to basically remove my surgical tape. Now, I was not expecting that this was the appointment that they were going to remove the tape. I don't know why I thought you would have the tape on for like 3 weeks. But once he came in, he did take off the tape. It was pretty straightforward. I didn't feel any pain. And then at this point, he pretty much just checked to see how everything was doing. There were some areas that was still leaking drainage. I also wanted to mention that after surgery, I did not receive the drain tube. I don't know why. For the most part, when it came to like drainage and all of that stuff, I could only physically see drainage after the first 1 or 2 days. I did have like some pads on the inside of my compression bra immediately after surgery, and I did notice some drainage when I took that off after 3 days, but it wasn't anything that was too alarming. So he took the surgical tape off just to see how everything was healing, and then he pretty much gave me some instructions on how to care for the incision. So he recommended that I use like some unscented lotion. He recommended Aveeno, and then he also mentioned that the only thing that I would need in addition to lotion was Vaseline to help keep the incision areas moisturized. Okay, so let's talk about the result. The first time that I was able to see my body was after 3 days. I was cleared to take showers and stuff. So the first time that I took my bra off, it was very shocking. So I even said to my mom, like, oh my God, I look like a child. I look like a little boy. But as funny as it was, y'all, it was really shocking. I want to say for the next 2 days, I was really like unsure how I felt about it. You got to keep in mind, like, I started to grow boobs in 5th grade. That's when I really popped, and so I went from like a training bra to a size B to a size C, and then at the point of having surgery, I was pretty much like a triple D. So to go from triple D to whatever size I was, it was very shocking. It was like looking at a new body. And this is me just being honest as possible. For so long, I was used to getting attention from people in general, but especially men, for having boobs. And so I'm like, dang, does this mean I'm not desirable anymore? And I want to mention this for a reason. I promise, y'all, don't eat me up. So when they say that an idle mind is a devil's workshop, y'all, he was having his way with me. I really just had a moment for a second where I was like, this is going to make a difference for real, for real. But to keep things in perspective, I pulled out a measuring tape for the first time, decided I was going to do my measurements because at this point, I didn't know how much the doctor removed. I didn't know what size I was. I was just going off of what I see. But by doing so, it really helped me mentally calm down a little bit. The whole reason why I decided to get breast reduction was to help with my neck and back pain. And by doing this, I started to notice more that, hey, I haven't had any pain. Even though I was on medication, at this point, I started to slow down on the meds, and I noticed that I wasn't feeling pain where I normally feel pain, which is like in my neck and shoulder areas and a little bit in my back. So I wanted to share that as a reminder, just some inspiration. The first time that you see your body after surgery, it is going to be very shocking. Just keep in mind why you decided to get the procedure done in the first place. Okay, so a few final things that I also wanted to talk a little bit about. The first one being how much was removed. So initially when I asked my doctor about what size I would be after surgery, he did mention that he cannot guarantee or promise a certain size, but that he would make my body proportionate. So after surgery, when I went in for my first post-op in-person appointment, he did tell me that he was able to remove 2 pounds off of each breast. And so immediately after surgery, I started to get on the scale to weigh myself. Slowly over time, I noticed I had dropped 7 pounds in total after surgery. And as I mentioned, I did measure myself and I am a 34C, but that was something that I wasn't told I would be. It wasn't something that we were aiming to be. I do like the size that I'm at currently. So although I do know that everybody's situation is going to be different, I did want to give some insight on how much I paid for surgery. So after going through the entire process of, just sharing my neck and back pain, taking the photos, getting them submitted into insurance, I was only responsible for $660 for this procedure. So I want to encourage you to look into Care Credit in case you're trying to figure out how you would be able to afford this procedure. This video is not sponsored in any kind of way. I've actually used Care Credit in the past for Invisalign. You will know well in advance if and how much you will be responsible for out of pocket. I do think looking into Care Credit is worth it if you're unsure of how you're going to pay for the procedure out of pocket. So all in all, I am loving the results. I think the size that I'm at is appropriate. It really is proportionate to my body. And as I mentioned, I have not really had any neck and back pain. I'm really looking forward to getting back in the gym, to wearing the cute gym outfits, to wearing the cute swimsuits, to just really feeling comfortable in my skin again. So again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, be sure to drop it down below and I will answer them. And I will see you in my next update.